I'll be interviewing candidates for the Public Service Commission District 1 position. The Louisiana Public Service Commission, LPSC as it's also known, define themselves as an independent regulatory agency dedicated to serving the public interest by assuring safe, reliable, and reasonably priced services for public utilities and common carriers. The overall goals of the Commission, according to them, are to ensure a regulatory balance that enables utilities to provide customers with safe, adequate, and reliable service at rates that are just and reasonable, equitable, and economically efficient, and that allow utilities an opportunity to earn a fair rate of return on their investment. The vote for this position has gone to a runoff between the incumbent commissioner, Eric Skrmetta, and Mr. Allen Borne Jr. Due to a conflict of scheduled Commissioner Skrmetta's, he was not able to make it for this show, but we will share a little about his campaign platform just a little later. We do, however, have the pleasure of meeting Mr. Allen Borne Jr., who is a local New Orleanian. He attended De La Salle High School, graduated from Tulane Law in 1984, and for over 34 years he has represented thousands of clients. Mr. Borne is also an adjunct professor of law at Tulane Law School. He is a Louisiana Bar Foundation Fellow, a member of the Louisiana Association for Justice, a member of the Louisiana and Washington, D.C. bars, and was a candidate for the state Senate in 2019. Mr. Borne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. I appreciate being here.
Well, it's our pleasure. So let's get right to it. We've got a bunch of questions for you. So let's start. In your own words, what does it mean to you to ask the voters to elect you to this position? And what is the impact that you hope to have if given the privilege of serving in this seat as a public service commissioner?
John, like you said, I founded Borne Law Firm right out of law school in 1985, and I've been fighting for the rights of my clients for the past 35 years, and this October.
Okay.
So, and I'd like to take those advocacy skills to the Public Service Commission because I feel that the people of Louisiana need a voice on the commission that's looking out for the consumer and not the big utility companies. As you were saying, the Public Service Commission regulates all the utilities in the state, Entergy, CLECO, all of those, as well as intrastate pipelines and trucking, telecommunications, and they oversee the spending of hundreds of millions of dollars each year. And I feel that the people need a voice on the commission. I have committed not to take any contributions from the utility companies I regulate, unlike my opponent who's received hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think that's important so that you have an independent voice on the Public Service Commission.
Thank you for that answer. Now, next question, what is the most pressing issue that you believe is facing the PSC today?
I believe it's the amount of money that the utility companies put in campaign contributions to the commissioners. And I believe that our legislature should do like other states, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and not allow utility companies that are regulated to give contributions to the regulators. That's fundamental so that we have an independent commission that does the job. Remember, these are regulated monopolies. Early in the last century, the best way they found to get everybody the lights and the utilities they needed was to do it by a monopoly, but a regulated monopoly. And monopolies on their own, they're businesses, and they can take advantage of situations because there's no competition. The regulated monopoly is regulated by the Public Service Commission, and we are there to stand up for the consumer and the people to make sure that the utility companies give us low cost, efficient, reliable, and sustainable utilities.
So let's take a step back. I want to be sure that I'm keeping up with you. So the Public Service Commission has the authority through the state to tell the utility companies that regulate lights, utilities, electricity, all the things that you get your bills in the mail usually every month. And currently it is there's no legal problem with these utility companies who are policed, regulated by the utility companies, with giving donations to people on the Public Service Commission.
That is correct, and I find that myself very distasteful and appalling, because it takes away the independence of your judgment. If they don't give those contributions because they're good-hearted, they're businesses and they expect something in return. In the past, one of the past presidents of Entergy has actually claimed that they own 3 seats on the Public Service Commission.
And by own, that means we gave money to people on the board seeking to get reelected, and the utility companies say we have influence because we gave a lot of money to people to help them get elected or get reelected to the board, and so we have a very friendly relationship, is what it sounds like you're saying, or what it sounds like it's being suggested.
That's what I glean from the statement.
And
yes.
if I'm understanding you, you're saying if the utility companies are prevented from being able to make contributions to those people who are going to be policing them, then at least it's more likely that consumers, people who live in those areas, can expect the regulators, that is the people who sit on the board, they're not going to have their influence, they're not going to be influenced by the utility companies.
Well, you know, there's 2 sides to this. It's a regulated utility. The utilities have their needs for getting a reasonable return on their investment. So we need to see that happens, because they're providing the service and we need the services. On the other hand, we need to look out for the consumer to make sure the consumer is getting the lowest price as well as the most efficient way. Believe it or not, in Louisiana, or in this district, there's over 100,000 people that pay as much as 25% of their monthly income to utility, for their utility bill. And that's an enormous amount and puts enormous strains on people. So we have to look at that. Other states, for the retired, the elderly, for the people in low income, the disabled, they actually give some discounts for those people. And I think in Louisiana we need to look at doing the same thing for that vulnerable population.
I would like to talk more about how you might drain that swamp, but we need to get going here.
Sure.
What sets you apart from your counterpart in this runoff, and what differences do the voters need to understand about these differences?
Well, like I said, I've been practicing law for 35 years. I've represented thousands of clients during that time, honorably, and that we had the experience to advocate and look out for the little guy. My clientele is a neighborhood client. I'm in uptown New Orleans, and people just walk in the door to get advice. So I'm willing to listen. I'm a good listener, and if people have problems with their utilities or their telephone service, I have an open door, and I want to hear about it, and I want to do what I can to solve it. So I will be accessible. I also, an important difference is I won't be beholden to the utility companies I regulate. I will treat them fairly, but I will also listen to both sides of the story like a judge and decide what's the most efficient way to go forward for both parties. But again, the Public Service Commission is there to protect the consumer.
And we're starting to run short on time, so let me try and keep things moving. In your eyes, what makes this position so important to the voters, to the city, and as a candidate for this role, what responsibility are you asking for your neighbors to trust you to fulfill?
So right now in Louisiana, a lot of the power plants that we have are aging out. We still have coal-fired power plants in Louisiana. Gas plants produce half the pollution that coal plants do. We are on the verge of new technologies in solar and wind that make these technologies low cost enough so that we can afford to direct the utility companies to start using more solar power, more wind power. A a lot of people have rooftop solar and want to have rooftop solar. That was gutted when they gutted the net metering procedure that they had, and really stop that. So I want to go in, I want to have clean energy. I'm a supporter of rural internet. Internet no longer is a luxury. We get education, telemedicine, and jobs, and we all need equal opportunity to high-speed internet, whether it be rural or low income. We all need that.
All right. Well, I wish we had more time to talk about, you know, that transition, how long you'd allow for it, but I'm afraid we're running out of time. Last question. Would you please tell our viewers your ballot number and where they can find more information about you and your platform?
Yes. I'm Allen Borne Jr. I'm number 63 on the ballot. Early voting starts today, November 20th, and goes to the 28th, and the election day is December 5th. It's every vote counts, and like I say, you get what you vote for. So I'm asking for your support and your prayers in this election.
Thank you kindly for that. It's been very informative and very insightful for us to learn about you and your platform. Best of luck to you in your race. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back right after this break.
Thank you, John.